Great. Thanks a lot for everyone who have joined this particular webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, whichever part of the world you are in and you have made their presence in this amazing insurance webinar. Hope you all are having a great day. Today, we have an opportunity to engage in a thought-provoking discussion. I, on behalf of AI Core Spot, welcome all our esteemed guest speakers and all the pretty faces that make our lovely audience. Let me initiate with a humble introduction of myself and the company. My name is Nitin Naveen and I'll be your host for the day. I'm working as Vice President Innovation and Strategy at AI Core Spot, and I bring with me an experience of around a couple of decades in consulting firms dealing in and around the emerging technologies. My colleagues Arvind and Naveen will be assisting me in keeping today's event lively. Also, they will be stepping in to resolve some technical glitches if it comes. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to them for their hard work and dedication in making this webinar a great success. This particular webinar is intended to deliver the new age technological advancements in the current industry with a seamless experience. Now, let me tell you something about AI Core Spot. We started a couple of years back, supported by knowledge and innovation partner, InfoVision, and technology partner, which is Digit7. AI Core Spot aims to function as a comprehensive knowledge hub, offering valuable information and perspectives on a wide range of cutting-edge technologies, which revolves around AI, ML, deep learning, IoT, robotics, edge computing, analytics, drone, 5G, edge AI, digital twin, AR, VR, cloud, and so on. With the objective of offering an in-depth exploration of all the sectors that involve technology, we introduce a different theme every month, and we have been progressively gaining momentum. Our goal as a company is to become the leading AI-driven community worldwide, where individuals with similar interests like you all can contribute to mutual growth and success. We prioritize industry-backed webinars and hybrid events, ensuring that our knowledge base is based on credible data provided by esteemed industry leaders, subject matter experts, thought leaders, our trusted partners. Further, we nurture the content through digital content, blogs, videos, podcasts, and newsletters to shed light on this ever-evolving industry. So join us today for one-of-a-kind webinar focused on a great topic, how technology is transforming insurance industry. We'll cover a range of topics, including generative AI, advanced modeling, dynamic pricing, and so on. Our expert panel will provide valuable insights and engage in a thought-provoking discussion that you might not want to miss. And just to let you know, there are lots more in store for the next months with a focus on different technologies like generative AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, AR, VR, digital twin, metaverse, ChatGPT, and quantum computing. May I take this opportunity to further request you all to go through our website, which is aicorespot.io, for future updates. We'd be delighted if you could show your love for us via likes and shares on our social media handles. It will keep you all updated on everything that we propose to offer in the coming months to follow. Now, before we get started with the discussion, here are a few pointers. We'd like to introduce our community partners for today. It includes some great companies like Marsh, InfoVision, Evolute IQ, and Sun Life, who came together to make this webinar a success. We also like to give thanks to all our attendees who took the precious time to join today for this amazing webinar. You know you have done lots of your plate, so it means to us that you are here to achieve your objectives and connect with one another. Ultimately, our goal as a platform is to help you gain valuable insights and build meaningful relationships. So if you walk away with even just a few ideas, connections, we'll consider it a job well done. So quickly, let me introduce the esteemed panel members. We have Yuvraj, who is AVP and client partner, BFI Space at InfoVision. He's also the moderator for this particular one. Joining him today are three great leaders. Let me introduce one by one to you. First panel member is Peter, who is Senior Vice President, Specialty Energy and Power Client Executive at Marsh. Second panel member is Samit, who is Chief Executive Officer at Evolute IQ. And third panel member is Mohan, who is Chief Information Officer at Sun Life. Just one-liner disclaimer before we start this particular one. The views shared by the speakers are their personal ones, not related to any organization or wish to hurt anyone. So, moving now, let's hand it over to Yuvraj to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thanks, Nitin. Happy Friday, all. I don't think we are going to hurt anyone else. And at the same time, it's a great topic to talk, right? Technology, how it is transforming the insurance industry. I don't think 45 minutes is going to help us to cover all, but the way we are planning is to share some of the perspectives from the three industry experts. Like you all, I'm also equally excited to hear their perspectives. So, with that said, probably I'll start with Mohan. How the transition, while we talk about all this transformation, how the transition of insurance industry, from your perspective, Mohan, you think like, especially from the event of loss to mitigation and minimizing, and how we can typically reduce the potential risk, right? Because it's going to be an ongoing. It's not like one time where we do it today and then sit and watch, right? So just wanted to hear your perspectives on those two, three topics to start with.
Sure. So I hope you can hear me well. So,
Yep.
and if you observe the insurance industry, right, typically insurance businesses were more focused on, an event occurred, let's, cover the event, pay the loss, and done, right? And that is very transactional from the perspective of at the time of point of sale all the way to paying the claims. We were very transactional, right? So that is the traditional model. Then we were also doing, door-to-door sales, collecting premiums door to door in the past. And, I'm talking about 15 and 20 years ago and such, right? And then when we underwrite, when we select the risk, we were also using a lot of paper-based forms. Like, we get out from a life insurance standpoint, right? We used to get doctor statements, lab reports in a PDF format or in a Word document, and then the underwriting teams would look at the document and then go and say, oh, the LDL, HDL is this, and then the risk profile is high, so they fall under high risk category. Here is the premium. Here is the coverage we can cover and such, right? Very manual, less data and such. Where we are seeing in last 10 years is shift to more data services based risk selection, right? Like there were some nice and well thought out insure techs like MIB, prescription data from RX, and many of the solutions that's available out there where you can get the client profile as a data that are much more effective to underwrite and risk select and such, right? So that is a big shift, right? We went from doing manual underwriting using paper form into more of a data driven decisioning in terms of risk selection, right? Then if you look at commercial and proper personal lines, like commercial and property and casualty side, right? The carriers have become very sophisticated. They started using aerial surveillance, like if you want to buy an insurance policy on your property, right? Back in the days, somebody from the risk adjuster would come to your house. They would look at your property and determine, okay, the property is in this zone, flood zone, and then determine the premium based on that, right? Or decline the coverage, if it is high risk property, right? Now it's gone, right? Now there is a aerial surveillance, there is a data about your property available as a data, from a providers and such. So it is much easier to assess the risk, right? So gone were the days, people were coming to you to inspect. Now everything is available as a data, right? So that is the trend, we saw the shift, right? Then now what I'm also seeing is the trend move away from let's cover the risk, let's pay out the risk. That is our traditional model into more of how do we mitigate the risk, how do we minimize and reduce the loss, right? And that is an important shift I am seeing, wherein, right, wherein we went from cover the event, when the event occurs we pay, to where we are now in the transformation. Let's minimize, partner with the companies that we insure, partner with the people we insure, so we can proactively mitigate and minimize and reduce the loss in most instances, right? So in other words, right, how can we encourage and advise the customers so they can take action that would minimize the risk event, right? That is one key question the businesses are asking nowadays. Then the other question is, how do we incentivize a product when a customer takes a risk mitigation, a risk minimization steps? How can we incentivize the customer so they pay a lower premium? That is the shift we are seeing, and I'm pretty sure many of you, you are seeing that, in the employer-sponsored benefit plan, the health insurers are asking people to enroll in a group plan wherein you are given a fitness device, and if you take X amount of steps, right, X amount of steps, and in a day, you are getting an incentive that your premium is lower, right? That is a big shift, right? Back in the days, health insurers, they would pay the claim, right? You go to dentist office, you go to doctor's office, they would pay claim. Now look at the shift, right? You are given a device, IoT device, right, the connected device, and then or continuous glucose monitoring, and then the data is available to the insurers, and they give you an incentive to take to make a healthy life choice and such, right? So this is a trend we are seeing across life and retirement industry, property and casualty industry, health insurance industry as well, right? We were doing a lot more of pay the claims, insure the policy, pay the claims. Now we are becoming an advocate of client, advocate to minimize the risk, delay the inevitable, right? So that is a big shift, and that shift is possible because of the technology solutions we have right now.
Thanks, Mohan. I think amazing to hear how the technology shifted from manual to semi-automation to the kind of situation where we are today. Good to hear all those perspectives. Again, that puts me an interesting point as well. In any industry, when all this technology shift and automation is coming in full blown, I think this generative AI is something that we cannot discount it, right? And definitely when it comes for the insurance industry, Peter, I just wanted to hear your perspectives, how this generative AI is creating new opportunities and how efficient, and the efficiencies it's bringing into the insurance industry.
Yeah, that's a pretty big question right now at this point. And I've heard a number of folks across the different industries refer to this as the next iPhone moment, right? We remember where when iPhones really started to transform the smartphone industry and really change the way that we interact with technology on that end. The generative AI is somewhat on the same level of a transformative event, I guess we'll call it, within the technology industry, and specifically for insurance. It has the opportunity to really make it so that the insurance transaction is a lot more efficient and a lot more rapid than what we've been relying on before. And I think we've seen, the evolution of call centers and other interactions with customers where, the chatbots, well, not necessarily chatbots at this point, but where you're responding to a computer who's guiding you in the right direction. And it's clunky sometimes. And the technology has been kind of slow to adapt, especially in some areas like the utility industry, where that customer service aspect hasn't really evolved as quickly as it has in other service industries, where it's important that you're really giving the customer the right experience. But with the evolution of generative AI, that's going to evolve even more quickly and be something that's additive to the process rather than just a step in the process. So if you think about it, and just a little bit on my background, I'm with Marsh, who's the largest insurance broker in the world. So I'm on kind of that transition service side, but I also worked for an insurance carrier at the start of my career and was a risk manager for a good portion of my career. So I've seen it on all sides of the transaction. And really the opportunity that's starting to develop is just, can generative AI make it smoother and take away some of that administration? And Mohan already kind of pointed to that a little bit, that that administrative minutia that we have, that's all part of the process. Can that be reduced so that we're allowing everybody in the steps of the chain to be a little more strategic and think a little bit more about those processes, as opposed to checking the boxes that we're hoping that generative AI can actually step in and transform as we go through that chain of custody, I guess we'll call it, with information for the insurance process. And I think about it just as a quick example on just a property and casualty level. The claims process can be a lot more quick, rapid, and effective with generative AI, where you can have a conversational reporting of a claim and get so much more information out of it, rather than going through and answering the questions like it's a form. If the generative AI on the other end can actually listen and learn from how we report claims and actually ask interactive questions, that really downloads a lot more information. So when you can get it into the hands of an adjuster, they're so much further along in the chain, and they're able to actually take strategic action on what's going on in the claim immediately, rather than having to go back and rehash and go through all of the reporting that's been done thus far, comb through data that's been transferred through another person or through a form online. All of that stuff, if it can be conversational and learn, it makes it that much more efficient for the information to get to the end user, the person that's going to have to go and investigate the claim. They've already been enabled with a more robust insurance or a more robust list of what happened in the incident. They may already have photos. They may already have all information that they need to, and get that deployed quickly so that they can be on the scene, get the claim moving, and then wrapped up that much more quickly and efficiently. So we've been moving slowly on that path for the last decade or so. Now we're in position where we can take advantage of this and really take a couple of leaps forward in how generative AI can actually do that. And there are positions all throughout the insurance transaction that allows us to take advantage of those things, and really, again, take away some of that box checking, some of that just information gathering, and really put everybody in the chain in a better position to act strategically and more effectively with any information that they've been given.
Absolutely. Thanks, Peter. Maybe I'll come back to you a little more, deeper when we talk about some of the risk management part. But meanwhile, I also wanted to hear some of your perspectives. Whatever just Peter said and Mohan started in the beginning, do you think like this is actually a hype, or what is the reality, especially around the generative AI?
So, Mohan, one of the things we have been observing as Evolute IQ, and we feel that the insurance industry is sort of on the cusp of this big change. I think we keep saying this, keep hearing this. I can see Peter smiling, but I think for the first time that I have been around, I feel the insurance industry is sort of ready to, leapfrog, because one of the things that the world has done today is every individual wants personalization. Whether you buy insurance, whether you buy a house, whether you buy a car, you want it to be personalized. You want, when you walk in, or when you go on the website to buy anything, you want the seller to know a little bit about you, or sort of about the demographics of you as a customer, your age group, your income level, where you stay, what you do, all that kind of thing. So, I think generative AI, it's the flavor of the month. It's the flavor of the year. I think even my corner shop guy who sells food understands generative AI. So it's kind of there. But I think the most important thing, if I would say, is I think there's a lot of data available. I think the most important thing about addressing something is all about data and information. And I think a lot of the insurance customers that we work with have years and years of data around a lot of things. And I think we've come to the point where proactive, so I think Mohan touched upon it, preventive or proactive or wellness management is sort of the trend. And to sort of understand, right, hey, if you're of Asian origin, or if you're of Danish origin, what kind of health risks do you run? What kind of, what's the typical age when these kind of things pick up? Those kind of data allows you to package an offering to a certain customer who comes in at that point. Or if you're doing a group insurance for a certain organization in a particular geography, depending upon, the type of illnesses that are out there, you can customize all of that. And there's a lot of learning that you get. The fitness that again Mohan mentioned, the Fitbits or some of these other gadgets that you get, that also records a lot of data. Now, if you take all of this data and you start using it within your firewalls, because I'm pretty sure none of the insurance providers want to take their data and put it out, in on the internet, and because there's some competitive advantage. Maybe the way you model your LLMs, the way you model certain things, and you create certain products, right? So one of the things that we have seen, and I'll give you a live example of both generative AI, proactive wellness, as well as some of the things that Peter said as well. We have a device manufacturer, a medical device manufacturer, and we sort of underwrite the warranty management for their entire pacemakers that they make. And this is given to a group of people. They want to monitor whether they're going and doing their health checks on time, and based upon obviously the consent and everything, this data is shared between the insurance provider, the healthcare, the Medicare provider, the hospital, and actually allows three things, right? One, you learn a lot about your customer or your patient. You're allowed to make certain very focused offerings in terms of, hey, maybe your cholesterol level is X, so these are the kind of medicines that could get prescribed in the future. So you may want to look at, so I think all this is now coming together. As I said, it boils down to personalization. Generative AI is here to stay, but I think within the enterprise, it has a great usage. I don't know how much of it maybe Mohan and Peter can share if they're willing to put their data out in public so that all of us can learn. But I doubt that's going to happen.
I don't think so.
Yeah. As you said, that's a competitive advantage, Sumit, right? The competitive advantage, right? At the same time, right? I think with the people consent, right? The consent is very important, right? It's not new, right? In the US, we have a policy of HIPAA, right? HIPAA patient, authorization and such. Insurance companies, when they underwrite a risk for a person, we have to get their authorization before we can go and query and find their health record and such, right? So I can see, several years from now, where there will be an aggregator collecting the data about the customer, and then if the customer wants to, insure, a property or their risk, or their health risk, right? They authorize the carrier on it. You can go and pull from here, instead of carrier storing the data. Now, I could see few years down the road, but at this time, that's a competitive advantage.
I absolutely agree. I think that's going to be, it's going to be customer driven, right? Where the demand
Absolutely.
and the requirement for more data and for being able to aggregate that data oversees whatever competitive advantage they're going to get. And so if the customer demands, hey, we need to really aggregate this information and be better as a group for it, that could be the transformation point. But aggregating that data is pretty challenging just across almost any industry. But certainly it's something that we should all be striving for, because it's only going to improve the experience for everybody.
Thanks, Peter and Mohan and Sumit. While we continue our conversation, I just wanted to ask the attendees or the audiences, if you have any specific question or any clarity you need, feel free to text on the Q&A link, right? So we can definitely take those and hear the perspectives. Now, again, Peter, I just wanted to, I know we spoke a lot about this AI and especially in the advanced modeling. I wanted to see, how it can vastly improve the risk management and insurability. If you can shed some light, that would be great.
Sure, and it's been a running theme. Both Mohan and Sumit have kind of touched on this a little bit, but in the industry that I am servicing, it's really become very clear that that's a differentiator in the marketplace. I deal in the energy and power industry, and there's a significant energy transition that's happening within the U.S. and actually the world. And there's a greater reliance on the renewable energy, clean energy systems, and a shift away from traditional power systems. And while that is absolutely the right direction to head, it doesn't come without some stumbling blocks. And what we've seen a little bit with a lot of the renewables is they take up a lot of space, and they're usually placed in places where traditional power plants, traditional power sources haven't been placed. And they could be subjective to a lot of things, specifically severe convective storm, right? That's something that we really haven't looked at. We're starting to do a better job on flood. We've got a pretty good idea on windstorm and modeling things like that, but it's starting to improve. And severe convective storm is one of the next ones that we're really looking to get an idea, because hail can be a significant loss driver, especially for solar panels. If you're in a hail area, that can wipe out an entire solar farm, which can be pretty pricey. So as we're starting to use technology and look at better sources, and this goes back to the aggregation of data situation, we're trying very hard to see what we can do to better model and really efficiently model those type of storms. We haven't been able to do a great job this yet, but it's starting to get much, much better as we're starting to aggregate that data. And if you're able to demonstrate to an insurer that you have done your diligence when it comes to some of these severe catastrophic type losses, and when you've gone about site selection for your solar panels or your wind farm, and you can give them the extra comfort that we've looked at this, we've modeled it. Certainly it's no guarantee. We all know that models are as good as whatever data, or they may change. But if you're at least looking at that and you've thought about the mitigation strategies and what you can do in order to avoid having a severe catastrophic loss, whether it's being able to stow away the panels as a storm arrives, or they're angled in a particular direction that deflects some of the damage that might be received. That elevates you to the top of the selection chain when it comes to an insurer. So you're going to get a better benefit of the doubt. You're going to get access to capacity that you may not have been otherwise been able to access, because you've demonstrated that you've done your due diligence along that line, and you're going to pay a better rate for that. So as we continue to mature those models and really start to aggregate that data, and that gets more and more mature, you're going to see not only is that going to become more of a requirement, but you're also going to see a stronger differentiation between the sites, the facilities, the insureds that have been able to do that do that due diligence, and the ones that aren't. And as the Investment Recovery Act provides a little bit, Inflation Reduction Act provides more opportunities for growth in clean energy, there's going to be more folks trying to take advantage of that, right? So as you get more folks in, there's less capacity to go around, but that gives you the opportunity to better differentiate your project, better differentiate how you address risk, and therefore reap the benefits of having the better risk to take on for the insurers.
Peter, speaking of a hail, we just got one a month and a half ago, and our entire neighborhood was affected, and the roof replacement is not that, it's very complex and damn expensive. Like, for a house of, 2,500 square footage, just changing the roof alone is, is $100,000 project. On top of it, if you add the solar panel, some houses have solar panel, that is, a lot of expense, right? So, I like your highlight on how we can use the data to, you can prevent the hails, but at least mitigate and minimize where it's possible, right? So,
no, go ahead, Peter.
And start to get better at that. It's not only going to help the insurers, the insured, to try and make sure they're making the good choices, but it helps the insurers to really price proactively for where things are going. We hear a lot when we talk about, hey, don't build a solar panel project in Texas because they just get hail. Well, Texas is gigantic. So there are certain aspects of Texas that are going to be really prone to a hail loss. And then there's others that are going to be in a pretty good position to avoid it. So helping that really can differentiate how not only a project, but just how pricing comes out as well. Sorry, Samit, I interrupted.
No, actually, I was just going to build on that, right? See, one of the things I think, Yuvraj, you asked before, right, which is, generative AI, and then we were talking about these predictive models and everything. I think one of the things, Gen AI does is also creates its own data. And I think, as you go through it, the secondary data, the tertiary data, I think, you're looking at models getting skewed and predictability. You'll have to differentiate from the noise from the actual data, because a lot of it would be self-generated and self-built, so to speak, right? So you don't want to be predicting based on the core data lying here, and then you have like multiple layers on top of it. So do you tag those data? How do you get to the actual data and stuff like that? So I think that's one of the risks that we run. So we need to have a balance between these the data that gets created also with the models, because if you're going to price based on that, if you're going to predict based on that, you don't want to end up in a situation where you're doing it off skewed data or misinterpreted
Right.
data, or yeah.
And
That makes
that's a
sense.
good point you
That,
made.
that,
That's a good
that
point you
makes
made,
sense.
right? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good point you made. Like, as much as we all love AI, there is a challenge on how a machine makes a decision that's different from, in some cases, human, and then justifying the decision in the event of legal challenge is a biggest area that all countries need to step back and take a look and say, hey, let's embrace the technology. At the same time, here are the guardrails, where you can use the machine models and automate and AI to make a decision, and here are the areas where the boundary is not possible at all, and such, right? So it's a complex.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
Mohan, that I go ahead, Samit. You want to say something?
No, I had a real life example, Mohan, just 2 weeks ago, sitting with the CEO of one of our tier one large, big insurance customers, and he had the thing. His question was, how do I tag? How do I avoid any lawsuits if they come? Because
Yes.
if they keep throwing these data and you're taking that data to build my models, hey, it's awesome that I can launch 3,500 products after out of 64 countries in one shot, but what happens if things go wrong? I mean, it's based on certain data. What if I send a disabled person an advertise or something which is not in line? It's not only insensitive, but in certain countries it's also illegal. So how do you sort of manage that? So I was just building on it. It was a very interesting discussion.
Absolutely. I do see a couple of questions coming from audience, but before I go there, real quick, I know it's great. You guys talking each other on the risk model where I started, and then went to the pricing. So Mohan, do you want to add anything on the dynamic pricing here before because I wanted to hear something specific to that. Yeah.
Yes. So back in the days, right? Let's say if you're renting if you have a house, or if you own a car, right? You go to buy an insurance, and the pricing was based on the history of the driver, right? History of a driver. Did they have any tickets, parking violation, tickets, or accidents, right? That was the days, back in the days. I'm talking about 10, 15 years ago, right? Now, in the last few years, that the shift has already happened, right? The pricing is dynamic based on your current real-time data of your driving behavior, right? There is a map available, and within the map, it shows, hey, this is the speed limit in this part of the city, and the speed limit is 70. If someone is an aggressive driver, they are driving at a 75 miles an hour, sorry, you're punished next, right after next week, your premium goes up, and that's a dynamic pricing right there, right? Then, I see a similar trend, happening in the health insurance space as well. People were given incentives or priced differently. The premium is adjusted based on the health behavior. And I see that on the property side as well, in the property and casualty, at least in the home personal side, right? Where, the pricing is based dynamically based on the current situation, current experience, instead of using the data 6 months or 6 years ago and such, right? No, that was something that interesting observation I made too. Is back in the days it was autopilot. Every year you get a renewal, you autopilot. The insurance is premium is adjusted based on the cost of living and cost of running the insurance business, cost of coverage and some risk factor going. Now it's pretty dynamic. The carriers are becoming very sophisticated, leveraging that data in the industry, leveraging data about the customer, about their property and such, dynamically pricing it. And that's going to be one that's going to differentiate each of us. Imagine, right? Nowadays we are a gig economy, right? We call it as a gig economy. Everything we want, everything real time, and we want to pay for what we use, right? Why should insurance be different? Cover for what we need and such, right? So that's where the dynamic pricing comes in, right? So
Excellent. I do see a couple of questions coming up already. Let me start with the first question from Abhijit Srivatsava. So his question is, with the rise of tech startups, how should traditional insurance companies leverage IoT devices and blockchain to drive innovation and perform risk assessment? Any of you can feel free to chime in, Peter, Mohan, or Sumit.
So I can take this, right? See, talking about IoT devices, I think a lot of insurance companies already do that. I mean, just to take an example, you have your courier services, right, which go or the large shipments that you have, cargo shipments between the US and Australia or Asia or wherever. And there's a lot of insurance premium depending on what kind of cargo you're carrying. And there's a lot of devices that you can attach to your cargo, which are certified by the governments, which are approved by certain international laws as well, because there's piracy, right, when you're transporting cargo from one continent to the other and things like that. And yeah, a lot of companies do look at the data, what time was taken to travel, what was the route that was taken, is the shipping corporation a risk averse, or do they like to go into choppy waters and take risk with my cargo? All that kind of data gets recorded. Does it get there on time? What has been the process? It's also very important to then analyze how much time does it take through immigration for certain kind of a cargo. What is the red tape? What are the, in certain countries, if you're sending perishable goods, how that works. And based on that, I've seen customers wanting to analyze that and then put up an insurance premium, or customers sort of going back and debating. I mean, we are doing one which is actually the denials management for the claims, where a certain insurer has denied claims based on this, and most of the data then comes from these IoT devices, where you can say, listen, it was all done, it was done properly, everything, I'm at no fault, but these were the areas. So I think that's one area we've come across, especially on the IoT piece.
Okay, thanks, Sumit. I hope, Abhijit, you got the response. If you have any follow-up text on that. The second question is from Vikram Kapoor. Since we spent good amount of time on AI, his question is, how are AI and automation impacting the claims processing and reducing the fraud? Can you give some examples?
I can take this, and Peter, feel
Sure.
free to jump in from a personal, and commercial, for PNC side, right?
By the way, Mohan, we do have more questions coming in, so.
Yeah, sure. Thank
ahead.
you. So we are, as you know, we are passionate about this topic, right? So we want to give everything we can in the few minutes, right? So fraud is the biggest concern for insurers, right? And fraud from the perspective of ensuring the event itself first occur, right? If somebody dies, right, we want to ensure the person has actually died, right, and such, right? So and especially, I work on an international, I support an international business where it is very difficult to find out, somebody has really died and such, right? So in some situations, we send our claims adjuster to physically inspect the cemetery, right? That was an eye opener for me. I know, why the heck we send somebody to inspect the cemetery? Don't we have a death certificate from doctors? Don't we have a data about, from a county or city or state websites, that we can find out if somebody died or not, right? It is not possible, right? So that's where, a lot of, the data providers are, the insurtechs are coming up to provide the information around, the loss such as someone passes away, loss such as, property is damaged and such, right? And that's where the AI has a major role to play in terms of analyzing, oh, this risk given a major earthquake happened here, right? And let me go and find out people who are in this geography analyze the risk for that particular client and proactively notify the insurer. Here are the potential risks. That can become a claims in another couple days because an event has happened and such, right? So that's where I see AI and AI and automation can play a major role in terms of processing the claims.
Thanks, Mohan.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that, from a commercial property and casualty and even personal lines situation, the enablement of just being able to deploy more rapidly when there is a claim reported, and being able to have real-time visualization of claims, of damages, and people that are involved is going to help reduce that. And the more that we gather that data, going back to the data thing again, the more that we're going to be able to aggregate that and be able to send up red flags to insurers when there's something that isn't right, or there could be a fraud situation going on, and make it possible for us to. And again, it's about enablement. We see those things in the past, but did we have the manpower and the capacity to investigate? As we reduce that minutia, hopefully that will free up a little bit more time to do a little bit more diligence when it comes to reviewing fraud, reviewing cases, making sure that what you're being reported from the insurer is lining up with what sources you can see. There's cameras everywhere. There's satellite imagery. There's a lot of different stuff that can say, that just tells you what things look like 2 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and you can compare that to what's being claimed when you're having an issue.
Great. I think that answers Vikram's question. Then the next question is from Vijay Kumar. How do insurance companies balance automation and personalized customer interactions with the rise of chatbots and virtual assistants? And second part of the question is, how is generative AI applied in this context?
I can start, Samit, and jump in.
Please do.
We call chatbot as a new thing, but if you take a step back and look at it, right, we had a kind of chatbot before, even now, right? When you call a call center 10 years ago, right, it goes, hey, press 1 to connect to billing, press 2 to connect to claims. And then once you press 2, claims, it goes to claims route, and then claims, can you please enter your date of birth? And then it automatically checks everything before you actually can talk to a person, right? So now this is chatbot, although it is, a fancy new term. We had some type of an automated answering machine a long time ago, right? The businesses, not just in insurance, others have figured out a way to personalize the experience, right? Where chatbot and virtual assistants can provide that personalization is going deeper, and that's where this AI comes into us, understanding what the claim is, what the customer is calling about, and build that empathization on, hey, you're calling about the loss or you're calling about the claim. Build that empathy towards the customer. Well, let me get you to the right person here, quickly and such, right? So that's where I see these technologies helping understand the context of the call, understanding the context of the request, and assist real time with the right level of details, contextualize, and also support our insurance processing behind the scenes. So, and I'll turn it over to Samit and Peter to jump in.
Sure. So, see, I believe, whenever somebody picks up a phone or reaches out, or any channel that they get through to get to your insurance provider, it's about resolution, right? That's what somebody is looking for. And the interest on both sides is to quickly understand what the issue is and resolve the issue and provide a satisfied, fair, and palatable answer, to the customer as well as the insurance provider, right? That's what it is. If you look at automation, it is not you're not what do you call replacing the human. That's not what automation does. It just enables you to get faster to the resolution. So the human and the technology, all of us are solving the same problem. The thing that the chatbots or generative AI does is it allows you to, there's a lot of conversation that happens, or there's exchange of emails or whatever. There's different sorts of data that goes into the system to the insurance provider. What it allows the insurance provider to do is collect that data, analyze it, and provide more proactive questions, more proactive resolutions the minute you either pick up the call or SMS and do all of that. Now, there's that one aspect. The other aspect is the millennial generation doesn't like to hear voices. They're more happier, dealing with SMS, WhatsApp messages, text. I mean, anything non-human works very well, right? And so, that's the customer of today. And I'm sure neither Marsh nor Sun Life wants to lose that customer. So then you cater to that customer, giving them that option of, this is how we interact, and that's the model you create. You take the data, you run the analysis, you have the LLM models which sort of give out the answers, and at the end of the day resolve and come to a solution pretty quickly. I mean, that's how I look at things happening.
Great.
Sumeet, I think you nailed it. And you even alluded to it earlier when you said that personalization is the key. I think everybody's going to become more comfortable with it, but it will be generative AI that learns your most comfortable communication channel and then will cater to what you want. And that will only make it that much easier from there.
And again, that texting to the next generation is already happening in all of our residential. So no blame, no complaint. Even our own kids prefer text each other rather than talking. Great to hear all the chat box. It's a great question, at least with the fear, some of the fear which most of the people have, at least the human versus chatbot, right? That perspective is really good. Now, I know we have 20 minutes left. Real quick, there are a few more questions. This is from Ajay. How digital ecosystems played the role to transfer the insurance industry? It's a broader topic, but you guys can pick one example. And in fact, Samit, I also wanted to ask you like some of the use cases that you wanted to share. Maybe you can, in interest of time, you can use this opportunity to provide your perspectives. Yeah.
I think the insurance industry has really embraced digital transformation, or is in the process of going through it. I mean, every industry across has done it, but I think the insurance industry has sort of embraced it. I think most of it, since we were talking about personalization, and I mean, a lot of this is, customer, right? Everything is centric around an event that has happened in the customer's life, and then what is required post that, right? And it could be my house got flooded, my father passed away, or somebody else, God forbid, had an heart attack. It's an event which drives it, right? From that point on, the minute the customer starts interacting with insurance companies, what I've seen is the better ones have a plethora of data that they have analyzed and kept, which as Mohan was saying, right, you want to be sympathetic, you want to respect the situation the customer is in. So we've seen this with one of our auto injury customers. The first thing they ask is, hey, are you safe? Right? That's the first prompt that comes up. Whether you SMS or whether you call, if you're calling that 1-800 number, the first response is, are you safe? Are you okay? Are you hurt? That kind of stuff, because that's the right approach to it, rather than saying, give me your policy number. That's not something which you're going to appreciate doing that. That comes through the whole analytics piece. And a lot of the things that we see our customers do is they've done, the whole KYC process, for example, right? That has been automated significantly. You have the RPA tools which do the data, the task management of extracting the data, putting it in different databases. You have analytic tools which allow you to understand what kind of customers are coming in, or what kind of insurance premiums, or any other thing that the customer wants, or know your customer a little bit more. Then if you want to sprinkle a little bit of intelligence on top of knowing your customer, but also sending some marketing, or targeting a particular customer about, hey, you need to buy this kind of insurance, or would you be interested in this kind of insurance? I think those are some of the things which a lot of our customers have already adopted. And I think they're already, this is what I just rattled out, I would say is version 1.0. They're already on to the next journey, and to the next journey of sort of embracing the whole digital transformation. I think one thing I will say, the data extraction from different types of documents, that's, I think, a big deal in the industry. And I think different people have cracked it in different ways, because there's a lot of handwritten thing, there's a lot of PDF, there's Word, there's all sorts of different formats of data that come in. I think Mohan and Peter would be better equipped to give you more insight into that.
Thanks.
We operate in a very niche market, and many of our applications, claim forms, etc., are sent through handwritten form and such. Right now, we physically have to hand code where it makes sense, and we're still we're maturing in terms of doing a OCR, ICR type of capabilities and such. And that also helps with one of the questions that Anthony has asked about RPA and AI, right? It is very from a process perspective, right? Business knows they need to introduce RPA. Business knows they need to do AI, because you want to scale a business. You want to take in more application, support more process, more book of business and such. We need to automate some parts of the business, right? So RPA is an important element, right? Where it becomes a pain point is like, business thinks like, they understand technology, and the technology person thinks, we understand the business. We need to bring them together, put them in a room, and have a process value stream mapping and such.
Absolutely.
That helps us see, oh my God, we are doing this process manually here. Why, right? Why is of the world is going to help us get to that, return on investment from the perspective. And let's go and build a little bit of a bot here to automate this process, and automate a fraud detection process. Leverage some industry data from a fraud detection space and such. So that's when I think Sanjali also asked one of the question on how do we engage in a strategic partnership in the fraud detection space. Yes, absolutely, we are engaging through RPA when the claim comes in through RPA. We are detecting, reading the claims document, and then automatically entering into the claims process through a robot or through a bot, and then kicking off the claim adjudication process. That involves the claim adjudication process involves 5 steps. One of the steps is, reaching out to a data provider to see, is there a claim, is there a debt form somewhere available for us to, automatically adjudicate the case and such, right? So it's all over the place. But what helps us as a business or a career is taking a step back and understanding the value stream, the process map end to end, not just one silo piece, right?
Absolutely.
That's where the big insurance companies, they try to focus on, let me solve one problem. If you take a step back and peel the onion end to end, you get insights and the gaps, as well as the manual step that we can digitize and introduce automation, bots and such, slowly, incrementally mature the process.
Absolutely. I think that just to add on to what Mohan just said, I think the key thing is to look at the process the way it is, which is end to end, not a part of the process, and solve one part of the problem. Because otherwise you're just taking one technology and solving one part of the problem. I think we are now moving towards a world where you have to look at end-to-end automation. You have to look at one single stack providing all these different pieces which allow you to automate the process end-to-end rather than just do one part. Because the most important part is to make this commercially viable. Just putting 500 bots to do one part of the task, it doesn't automate the process. I think we have passed that 4 years ago.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a significant challenge within any large organization as you move forward, whether it's an insurance company or an electric utility. I know that in my electric utility days, we had different systems because everybody wanted to go out and solve their own problem, but the systems then wouldn't talk to each other, and that would create unintended consequences for a lot of things. So it is a valuable proposition to pull back and look at it end to end, as opposed to solving that one problem. That's spot on. And it's hard because it seems like you're just trying to sell like a one-time solution product, but and then the return on investment question starts to come up. But until you can see it from the full view, you're bound to make some mistakes as you go along the way.
Actually, sorry, you just that's the sweetest spot for Evolute IQ. So I have to say this, right? See, we believe. So Peter, our philosophy and what we've built is predicated on the fact that whatever you address, it should be end to end like a process, because that's what we do. It should involve everything from the RPA to the analytics to the artificial intelligence and the entire thing integrated. But the most important thing is when folks like yourselves or Mohan want to build it across the organization, it should not be prohibitively expensive. It should not break your business cases. Because the biggest thing is, having these islands of technology and then bringing in system integrators to integrate it, the whole thing, the change management, everything becomes so prohibitively expensive that you just take a step back and you're so overwhelmed with it, saying, hey, how do I now solve this? Because I know my problem, I know how to solve it, but do I really have to pour in millions and millions of dollars to do all of this? I think that's where we are, and I mean that's what we address. But I completely agree with you.
Great. I know we have two more questions. A quick time check. Like I said in the beginning, 45 minutes or 1 hour is not going to be sufficient. We can talk on and on. But audience or attendees, feel free to send a follow-up questions, right? If you didn't get an opportunity to ask here, definitely we wanted to address those offline. So the way we can plan the next 10-15 minutes, Samit, Peter, and Mohan, two questions from the same person. Let me go through that. And then I will let each of you at the end to talk about anything that which I missed to ask, because I came up with some of the things that which I wanted to hear from an audience perspective. But if you guys think that these are the one or two which I wanted to bring in, maybe you guys can spend 2 minutes each on it. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So the question is from Sanjali Makar. The first question is, data is a new oil, but we all agree that the accuracy is at most important while deriving valuable insights from it. What unique challenges has insurance industry faced and tackled in handling and interpreting huge volumes of data to ensure its relevance and accuracy?
So I'll say from our perspective, one of the most difficult things that we've had as far as gathering data is from the claims perspective. That's a great teacher of what historically is happening to be a good predictor and teacher about what can happen going forward. But typically when we have claim data that comes in, it's gathered with the purpose of resolving the claim and not necessarily mitigating claims like it going forward. So matching the data to and getting all of the data to what can actually be a root cause or a root problem, and then assigning that and helping to mitigate that has been a significant challenge. And it will take a mindset shift from insurers as we go forward about what value that claim process can build, not just within the silo of we need to resolve this claim and do it for the right price. We also need to think about it from a further mitigation and reduction of risk going forward. And so we'll see how that's developed, but it's been probably the largest issue that I've seen that's been hard to resolve. We have the data, we have all that claims data, but is there good data there that can actually support it? And how do we parse it all together where it makes a better picture than the one we started with?
That is an excellent question. I'm going to take a little detour and talk about one important part of insurance business that is often overlooked. That's actuarial modeling, actuarial pricing, right? I don't know if you know how many of you interacted with actuaries. And actuaries use a lot of data. They are the data hogs in the insurance business, and they use the actuarial data to understand the risk profile, understand the mortality risk, understand the claims risk and such, to come up with the pricing and reserves, right? And that's an area where insurers need a lot of data, consume a lot of data that helps them manage the reserves, manage the asset liability, manage the pricing. That's what is used to price the product and such, right? If you step back 2 years ago, right, we were doing fantastic job with our actual assumptions and such. Then what happened? COVID happened. Right? Imagine all of our pricing assumption up to that point was awesome, but when the COVID happened, the number of claims we have never planned for, the number of deaths we have never planned for, right? We plan for hundreds of deaths in a month or so, on a book of business of 1 million million life insurance policy. And he may plan 100 deaths in a month or 100 deaths in a few weeks and such. When COVID came, we didn't have such a forecast. You know, here is the sensitivity and such, right? So where accuracy and the trust you build is building that sensitivity within the model, and actuaries do a good job of putting that sensitivity in there. And that is the biggest challenge is the unknowns that we are not even anticipating and such, right? That's where the data is helping us now to get better in terms of using the models, using the data to better forecast the future and such, right? So and that was a big challenge for us, when we had a lot of claims come in a very short period of time.
Mohan.
You know, sorry, just on that question, right? I think the biggest challenge, and this is not just pertaining to insurance industry, is the quality of the data. I think that's the most important thing. And I think it's like good food habits and bad food habits, right? We all know we have to eat good food, and yet we all get carried away with our cravings and our likings. And I think just like any other industry, I think the insurance industry has a lot of data, but there's also uh, a, there's a portion of the data which is just incorrect or useless, right? And I think parsing that to get to accuracy, I think that's the important bit. So that's one of the challenges that I have observed with some of our customers, and they've been working really hard to sort of create different models to identify which data is not the accurate data and which is the good one. So I think that's one piece I would suggest.
All right. I think I see one last question from Saint Sanjali. I don't know whether you guys can answer this directly, but the question is, I'll leave it to you guys, right? Has Sun Life engaged in any strategic partnerships to accelerate its progress in the fraud detection space? If so, what were the key benefits and outcomes of these collaborations?
Yeah, so we are partnering with a couple of third-party fraud detection, client due diligence type of vendors, who have a rich set of data. Again, if you recall, if you rewind an hour ago, right, what we said is it is very difficult for one company to have all the data, right? You have to rely on external third-party data aggregators for running the business, right? So we are leveraging some of the third-party data and partnership to understand the claims, to understand the client, right? And understand the client and ensure that the client is somebody who we can potentially take a risk on and such, right? So we are doing a lot more in that space, but know that insurance company don't have all the data they need for a fraud detection. We have to have a strategic partnership with not one vendor, multiple vendors. If you're an international company, doing business in multiple jurisdiction like us, we have to partner with multiple companies in the insurtech space, and we are also partnering to innovate in that space too. On how can we use some of the data such as biometric biometric solutions, like somebody holds the phone in front of their face and AI reads the face and understands, okay, here is the the data about their blood profile, data about their cholesterol and such, and use that proactively to select the risk and such, right? So and also that helps us to minimize the fraud, like somebody is showing their face, we want to validate the passport of the person, and they are right there, real time with us, interacting with us. We are underwriting their case real time. We are assessing the risk real time and minimizing or reducing the fraud real time, right? So that's how we are seeing the partnership evolve in the industry.
Thanks, Mohan. There's one more question from Anthony. Is finding RPA or AI use cases or maximizing ROI from this technology a key pain point in the insurance industry?
I think Mohan kind of pointed to this a little bit earlier, but that hits on a very difficult thing because a lot of this stuff is going to revolve around customer experience, and we know that customer experience itself is measurable, but is the return on investment necessarily something that you can connect in the industry that you're servicing, especially for like an insurance company? There is a pretty specific transactional portion of that just says, whether you're acquiring customers or maintaining customers, is there a direct link that you can draw to this investment in technology to keeping pace with the numbers that you want to provide on that side? And is the alternative that you aren't making this investment, but then you're also seeing additional expenditures that are going to reduce that value? So that certainly is a difficult portion of the chain, and something that can be a challenge to prove out as you go along. Most of the time worthwhile, but something to certainly plan for and seek out as you get going.
Thanks, Peter. I know that brings to the end of the Q&A, unless some new question pops up. We have another 4 minutes. So any specific topics you guys want to quickly highlight? Like 3 of you, you can. It's feel free. Like it's your.
I got one. That's my pet
Go ahead,
peeve. A pet peeve to my team is like, it's important to, especially insurance industry is slow to, modernize and innovate. Peter, I'm sure you can attest to it. What I said, right? I work with AIG now with Sun Life, and I have deep relationship with other companies in the insurance industry, right? Slow to innovate, right? That means the skills of the people who are working on that part of business, right? It takes time for them to learn new technology because the companies are not there, looking out and innovate and such, right? So one pet peeve that I share with my team is look out for yourself, look out for your business as a technologist, right? Listen to what's happening in insurtech space, listen to what's happening in the fintech space. Although they may be in a different line of business, you can learn concepts there that you can bring in and put it in your roadmap 3 years, 5 years from now, right? So be hungry in terms of observing what's going on around in other parts of the industries, other part of the businesses, that you can bring and share that perspective, right? That outside in perspective is very important.
Thanks, Mohan. Samit or Peter, anything else you want to add? Or
Quickly, as a risk manager, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there are unintended consequences to all of this technology, and it's going to be really great, and there's going to be a lot of fun things that happen out of it. But as you're adopting these technologies, make sure you're educating not only yourself but also the people within the organization about it. Understand the liabilities and the consequences of what adopting that technology might be, and make sure you're fully pulling that string so that you and your organization are well prepared for whatever consequences might come out of it, and are making an informed decision about what that looks like as you start to adopt.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, Peter, it's that same thing, right? I think technology is important. It is what.
can you go on mute? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll just repeat myself. I agree with what Peter said. I think technology absolutely is important. I mean, it drives us. It is what is making the change. But I think we need to take a balanced view. I mean, we all got carried away with RPA, thinking it's going to solve everything and solve our problems. We put millions of dollars behind it, and it didn't solve anything, right? It just automated the task which we were doing anyways. So what we did is we poured millions of dollars on something which we anyways were solving for the last 10, 15 years. It's not anything unique. But yes, when you take a view of your process end to end, when you understand what your process actually does, and you automate it with the context of enriching the customer experience, reducing your cost, whereas managing the risk of what the consequences of that technology do to your organization, I think that's the right way forward. I think looking at the process wholesome, and making sure that you can scale it across the organization, I think those kind of technologies should be the right way forward.
So, Peter, I know, glad we are on time. Glad to share all the perspectives. It's very productive. Like I said, if any follow-up questions, feel free to send it to Nitin and us. We can definitely take it offline. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you, Yuvraj. Thank you, Samit. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mohan. I think it was a very intriguing discussion. And thanks a lot. And as Yuvraj said, keeps on saying, 1 hour is not enough. I know this discussion should keep on going, and that's why we keep on continuing with the series of events which we are planning every month, so that we gain every month few insights which can help the audience gain understanding deep into what the technology in different industries is all about. So let me wrap it up, guys. Just to wrap up, we extend our gratitude to our community partners, the esteemed speakers, and the attendees who took time, participated in this forum. And, I hope this provided a great platform for knowledge and enrichment to all of you. As our panel speakers were exceptional, we appreciate their willingness to come together and share their valuable insights. Further, if you feel that you missed something or wish to look back at the sessions, let me inform you that today's event was broadcasted on the YouTube page of our company. So you all can go and see the recording anytime. And if you are looking out for recent technological updates and advancements, log on to our website and social media channels. We'll be sharing lots of knowledge sharing topics, details, announcement of the next events, and much more, which will help you register and attend the same. Before we close, we would like to thank InfoVision, which is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, which is our technology partner. To understand more in depth and connect with them, all of you can go through their website, which is infovision.com, and stay abreast with the technological advancements. Further, there are lots more in store for this year with a focus on great industries like banking, financial insurance, telecom, high-tech, media, entertainment, retail, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, and so on. So I request all of you to keep connected with us and enjoy the learning. It was a pleasure bringing this session to you, and we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to having more sessions with you. Take care and have a great day and weekend ahead. Thank you all of you for giving your time.
Have a nice weekend.
Hey,
Have a
thank
nice
you. It was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.